At the dinner table, a child raises a new drawing toward the light. The colors are bright, the hope quiet but alive. Across the table, the parents scroll through their phones, their conversation moving forward without a single glance. The child lowers the paper, silence settling where pride once lived. The next day, the drawing stays folded. Inside the small body, tension forms, the chest contracts, breath shortens, the heart races as the longed-for gaze never arrives. The nervous system learns to wait for what will not come. Over time, this becomes a pattern of survival, shrinking before being unseen again. As that child grows, they begin to doubt the worth of being noticed. When entering a room, they feel the need to take up less space. In relationships, they worry that their emotions are too much. When they succeed, they do not celebrate. They prepare for disappearance. Psychologists describe this as the internalized neglect schema, the brain's adaptation to repeated invisibility, teaching that needs are burdens. The self is quietly built upon silence, without reflection. The idea of I exist becomes dim. Repetition teaches the child not to ask, not to show, not to need. Neglect does not always mean cruelty. It can be absence, distraction, fatigue. Yet its wound is real, the forgotten birthday, the unanswered question, the eyes that never meet. Inside forms a conflict, longing to be seen, yet fearing the gaze that might judge or reject. And so, the child remains, now grown, still sitting at that invisible table, half hopeful, half afraid. In a world loud with voices demanding to be heard, some learn to survive through silence. What begins as silence at the dinner table soon grows into a way of seeing the world. When a child's excitement meets no response, something inside begins to shift. Being ignored does not only cause sadness, it reshapes the inner map of meaning, leaving behind a quiet conclusion: I do not matter. Developmental psychology identifies 3 essential needs of every child: safety, stimulation, and connection. Among these, connection, being seen, heard, and valued, forms the foundation of identity. According to John Bowlby's attachment theory, secure attachment becomes the blueprint for all future relationships. When this feedback is missing, the child internalizes a false belief: I am not lovable. On a biological level, being unseen registers in the brain as a threat to survival. The stress system activates, releasing cortisol. Over time, the brain not only reacts but learns to anticipate rejection. It updates its danger model early, setting fear as the default mode. Repeated experiences of this kind keep the nervous system in constant alert. Even when life appears calm, the body remains ready for loss. Emotional regulation weakens. The smallest distance feels like abandonment. Outwardly, the child may seem calm and polite, but inwardly their body lives in chronic vigilance. This is the hidden wound of the ignored child, leaving no visible scar yet shaping an entire lifetime. Silence becomes their first language. Each unanswered question and each quiet dinner teach the same lesson: the less I need, the safer I am. And in learning to disappear, the child slowly forgets what it means to truly exist. What begins as silence in childhood often echoes far into adulthood. Those who once lived unseen often grow into adults who doubt their worth, fear sharing their truth, and quietly assume that no one truly cares. The fear of rejection leads them to avoid closeness, or, in the opposite direction, to overextend themselves, chasing approval through perfection, pleasing, and constant effort. Each time they achieve something and it goes unnoticed, an old memory stirs. The child who once brought home a drawing and was ignored reawakens inside them. The joy collapses before it can bloom. They learn to silence their own pride, to dismiss their accomplishments before anyone else can. This pattern reveals a deeper truth. A person once ignored often becomes the one who ignores themselves. Research published in 2019 in the Journal of Child Psychology and Psychiatry found a strong link between emotional neglect and chronic loneliness, even among those with wide social networks. The National Institute of Mental Health identifies increased risks of anxiety, depression, and difficulty forming secure attachments. The Harvard Center on the Developing Child notes that consistent recognition strengthens neural pathways for resilience, while lack of recognition weakens them. Being acknowledged is not luxury, it is biology. Yet many parents were not careless by choice. Exhaustion, financial stress, depression, or digital distraction eroded their presence. But modern culture rewards productivity over presence, and silence has become a social norm. Regardless of the reason, the child feels the same pain of absence. As adults, they carry two opposing instincts: the longing to connect and the fear of connection. The childhood silence becomes distance in every relationship, and the first emotional fracture appears the moment they realize that silence was never safety, but isolation. The ignored child grows up learning that survival requires strategy. What once protected them becomes the pattern that defines them. Some become fiercely independent, self-sufficient far too early. That independence once saved them, but in adulthood, it isolates them, making trust feel dangerous. Others chase achievement, driven to excel as a way to earn visibility. They collect accomplishments, but never peace, because perfection is never enough. Some learn to become peacekeepers, sensing tension before it erupts, smoothing every edge to preserve connection. Yet in doing so, they abandon their own needs. Others give up entirely, whispering an invisible surrender. If no one cares, why should I try? Each of these strategies begins as coping, but slowly hardens into identity. The exterior looks strong, capable, unshakable. Inside lies exhaustion and a quiet emptiness. In therapy, many say, nothing terrible ever happened, unaware that the absence of what should have happened is the wound itself. Living without emotional air is like surviving in a house with no oxygen. Life continues, but breathing never feels safe. The very adaptations that once kept them alive become the chains that keep them from rest. They do not know how to soften, how to receive care without fear. Strength becomes a mask, covering the old terror of being forgotten again. Every act of perfection, every calm smile, every achievement carries the same silent plea. See me, but do not see how much I ache. The pattern does not end with one generation. Those who once felt unseen often become parents who, without meaning to, repeat the same invisible script. They do not always repeat the behavior, but they repeat the energy of silence, the distant gaze, the distracted presence, the emotional absence that once surrounded them. Healing then becomes more than self-repair. It is an act of breaking inheritance. Every adult who learns to see, listen, and value their child ends a generational cycle of being ignored. The recovery of one becomes the beginning of safety for many. Ironically, people who grew up unseen often develop extraordinary empathy. They read subtle expressions, changes in tone, and emotional shifts in others because they once had to. Yet the cost of this sensitivity is high. They understand everyone except themselves. Without emotional mirroring in childhood, their sense of self remains blurred. As adults, they seek validation not from vanity, but from a lifelong search for reflection that never came. Still, the human system holds an instinct for restoration. Many begin to read, write, enter therapy, or explore their own stories. They are not trying to escape silence. They are trying to transform it. In this process, healing the self also heals the unspoken history of the family. Silence passes not only through words, but through glances, gestures, and the ways adults avoid their own feelings. When one person finally chooses to speak, they change the emotional language of an entire lineage and begin to teach love where quiet once lived. The work of healing continues from where the generations chose to stop hiding. The brain, with its remarkable plasticity, holds the power to relearn safety. Every time a person speaks and is truly heard, the brain records a new memory of protection. Every time they set a boundary and it is respected, the nervous system learns to trust again. Old memories do not vanish. They simply lose control over the present. When the pain of the past coexists with the new experience of safety, the brain updates its story. That was then. This is now. Each moment of genuine connection becomes a drop of water, wearing down the stone of old wounds. Healing is not magic. It is a series of small, repeated actions. Saying, "I need you to listen." Saying, "I feel hurt." Whispering to oneself, "My feelings matter." There is a difference between being calm and being safe. Calm achieved through suppression is silence, not peace. Safety begins when the body finally believes in the present. Courage, therefore, is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act gently despite it. Each small act of honesty, each boundary held, forms a new neural path for trust, regulation, and presence. Through this process, healing becomes communal. A person who learns to listen to themselves becomes someone who listens deeply to others. Those who dare to honor their own needs create a new culture of recognition, where emotional presence replaces avoidance. True safety cannot be taught through words alone. It is learned through experience, through the moments when someone is met with full attention. Each of these moments is a quiet repair, where the inner child is held instead of ignored. Healing is not just about understanding, it is about feeling safe again, from the inside out. And then comes the second emotional breakthrough. The trembling adult finally says, "See me." When the gaze is returned, the body believes, perhaps for the first time, that it is safe to exist. Peace is no longer a destination, but a practice, a skill relearned every single day. From that fragile moment of being seen for the first time, a new chapter begins. To everyone who once waited in silence, this is the truth you were never told. You matter. You are seen. You are loved. Healing does not mean erasing the past. It means offering yourself the love that was once missing. It means looking at your reflection through eyes of compassion, not through the old lens of neglect. The story of the ignored child is both a story of pain and of persistence. Silence once created the wound, but speaking becomes the bridge toward wisdom and connection. What was once invisibility can transform into clarity, empathy, and presence. The very sensitivity that once caused pain becomes the instrument of understanding. Those who grew up unseen often become the ones who help the world see again. Their ability to notice the subtle, to care deeply, to sense pain behind a quiet face is not weakness. It is the legacy of survival turned into light. The child who was once ignored grows into an adult who refuses to ignore others. And in the act of attention, they discover that they were never truly invisible. They were waiting to be recognized. In the closing image, an adult returns to the old drawing once left unnoticed. They place it on the table, sunlight spilling across the paper. No words are spoken, yet everything is understood. For the first time, the gaze is met. The moment does not erase the past, but it redeems it. The door closes softly, no longer holding the silence of isolation, but the silence of peace, a stillness earned through seeing, through being seen, and through finally believing that love has found its way home.